So this will be my first time through the process. Bear with me if there are any issues. But the main idea here is to export the Auto Rig Pro rig, which I have renamed using the character set character name option in Auto Rig Pro. So you can just set it to Yuga and underscore rrig pro. So I'm going to export this character with a Mixamo naming convention, which you can create a text file with the base skeleton names for Auto Rig Pro, which are part of the deform bones in these layers. So you've got your let me pin this to the top here so you can see it. So Control Windows tab. So you've got your for example, your shoulder left would correspond with the Mixamo rig left shoulder. The deform bone for arm stretch dot left would correspond with Mixamo rig left arm. So basically everything in this last deform layer is what you want to use when you're trying to create new naming conventions for export on Auto Rig Pro. And then Auto Rig Pro will rename the existing bones in your rig to these names. So I'm going to go ahead and select that under the Export tab for Auto Rig Pro in the Rename Bones from Files section. So I have a Auto Rig Pro folder here, and I created this export rename text file. So now that's being referenced. Just going to select the main export groups now again. Going to hit Control Save to save everything, and I'm going to select the main chameleon mesh and then the rig, and I will select Export. Now here you're going to want to make sure you have the Rename Bones option ticked, which will use the file that is indicated in this interface window here. You can export with full facials, advanced, stretch bones, everything, as long as you have the correct naming convention in this text file. Unity and humanoid rigs have the correct number of spinal bones for the Mixamo export, so that will be the options you'll want to select. You can export animations that will work fine. We don't have any on this rig, so no need to. In general, when I'm exporting smoothing groups, I select the face option from this dropdown. You can export tangent space normals, but those typically don't have issues unless you have custom normals that are heavily modified. Now there's a great option in the Auto Rig Pro FBX exporter that actually allows you to apply modifiers even if your mesh has shape keys, which is not something that the built-in FBX exporter can do in Blender. If you try to export with shape keys, you'll either get an error, or applying modifiers over shape keys, you'll either get an error with the default plugin for Blender FBX export, or you'll just lose all of your shape keys. Then you'll want to make sure that you select embed textures. If you've got materials that are supported, those will be embedded in the FBX file. It'll make it really easy upon re-import. And everything else is okay to leave default. So we'll go ahead and export now. And when the export is complete, you'll see a message down at the bottom terminal. And you can go ahead and, so I'll hide the Auto Rig Pro armature and select the collection that I created for the Mixamo armature to be imported into. I'll say File, Import FBX. I'll select the Chameleon FBX file and import the FBX. Now you'll see a lot of bones here that are in orientations that probably aren't appealing. We can fix that later, but for now let's go ahead and make sure our armature has all bones in front. So quickly checking the bone weights. Looks like we've got our stretch bone intact. We've got our main Mixamo upper leg intact. We've got our arms intact. We've got the neck bone intact. The hip bone is the root, which is great. And all of the other bones that were meant to be exported have been exported. One note is that when re-importing that FBX, we actually ended up creating a duplicate of that material, though it looks as the original, so that's a good sign. It'll be good for GLB export into Hallway. But we can just go ahead and grab that original material and delete the duplicate material that was created on import by going into the Blender file in the outliner and deleting that extra material. And we can go back to the view layer, and we can use this rig to create a Mixamo rig now. So I've got, in your interface, you will see a Mixamo. If you've downloaded the Mixamo add-on for Blender, you'll see a Mixamo tab. I've got another add-on here that allows me to reorganize the tabs on my sideboard because I've got way too many add-ons. But this is the interface you'll see, and you can simply select your rig and choose this operator to create a control rig. Now, this is a strange result, and that's just because some bones got rotated. Not a big issue. All you have to do now is click on the character mesh, and if you can't click on it easily, but without switching modes, you can check this edit menu up here, and if lock objects modes is on, just turn it off. That makes it easy to swap between selecting the rig and the character. But to fix this twisting issue, you'll go into pose mode, and you'll say pose, apply as rest pose. And that will cause any meshes connected to the armature to have this pose applied to their vertex translation information. So any bones that are twisted in an unexpected way will now be the default position for that mesh. Now, as we move around the armature control points, you should see expected behavior. And we can use these extra bones that were exported from AutoRig Pro to control twist behavior and stretch behavior. So this is working great. At this point, if you want to make some modifications to control point locations, which I think the shoulder is a little wide set here, let me show you how to do that. So you're going to want to select all layers in AutoRig, or in the Mixamo rig. You can tab into edit mode. We're going to hit C on the keyboard to use the paint select tool. Select all the joints, all the bone tails for all joints at this position here, and on the opposite side of the rig. I'm going to right click to exit the paint tool. Then I'm going to scale, so press S on the keyboard and then press X on the keyboard to scale in the X direction only. I'm just going to bring those shoulder joints in a little bit. Now I'm going to hit Tab on the keyboard again to get out of edit mode, and I will look only at this first layer once again. And I like that shoulder position a little bit more. So now if we move the arm up, it's a little less extreme, and we can select this joint here to make things look good. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all of these extraneous stretch and twist bones, and I'm going to move them to their own layer. So I'm going to go ahead and put these guys down here, and I could do the same with the tail. I don't think I need to. I am going to do the same thing with the face, though, so I'm going to start clicking through the face bones and move them to the other layer I just created. There we go. So now we've got a nice clean control setup, which is really, really, really easy to use. It looks like all of the controls are working as expected. Let's try this one. Okay, looks like we're going to have to do a little bit of work on that, but in general, it's doing pretty well. And this will be compatible for export to Hallway. Another thing to note is now that we have this Mixamo character, if we want to restore the control shapes to the face from the old AutoRig Pro rig, what we can do is isolate this layer where we have the old skull bones. We can tab into edit mode and delete those bones, and we can transplant them from the existing AutoRig Pro rig. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete these bones. Alright, so they're gone. And now I'm going to hide the Mixamo rig collection, and I'm going to select the Mixamo rig, and I'm going to duplicate it so we can delete all the bones that aren't related to the head, and then transplant that onto the Mixamo rig. So if I hit Shift D on the keyboard, that'll create a duplicate of our Mixamo rig. So if you look under this collection for Yugata group, you'll see there's now Yugata rig 1, which is also indicated here. So we can go ahead and hide the Yugata rig. I'm just going to go ahead and hide this chameleon body low. Alright. Now I will select all of the hidden layers. Actually, yeah, we'll select all of the hidden layers for this rig. We will tab into edit mode, and I'm just going to select everything that's not the head and delete it. And this is a duplicate rig, so it's not a problem to do this. There we go. And we're just going to remove this bone chain from the neck. We don't need any of these. There we go. So now, or actually, I don't think I need to be deleting all of those. Some of those were necessary, weren't they? I can't remember what was in the last rig, but let's go ahead. I don't think this neck reference needs to be there. This reference doesn't need to be there. We've got a, don't need this scale fix. C head X doesn't need to be there. Head.X doesn't need to be there. The reference doesn't need to be there. I think the skull bones need to be there. Yeah, those needed to be there. Neck twist doesn't need to be there. There we go. Okay, I think we got everything we need now. So I can tab out of edit mode, and I'm going to go ahead and hit Shift Tab to enter object mode. Okay, and then I am going to take this duplicate rig, reveal the Mixamo connection, and in object mode, I'm going to join it with the main rig here. So I'm going to hit Control J in object mode, and it looks like something was wrong with the scaling here. So something's broken. Let's take a look. Oh, nope, everything looks fine. This is great. Okay, so when we enter into pose mode by hitting tab and or control and tab, hopefully the rig functions as we would expect. So let's grab this jaw joint, and it sure does. The only thing that might not work is I don't think things are connected to the head right now. Yep, so we're going to want to take the skull bones and parent them to the head. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's see here. These skull bones here need to be parented to this head bone. So I'm going to hit tab. So I'm now in edit mode and hit Control P and say keep offset. Now I can tab out of edit mode, look at the main control layer once again, and now when I rotate the head, everything appears to be connected. So that is how you perform a successful transplant. So now you've got your facial controls, you've got your facial shapes. Let's verify that. They appear to be working. And you've got your full Mixamo rig, functionality. One last thing I'd like to fix is this shoulder control is kind of in a bad place. I don't know why it's on the wrong side of the rig in the back. So let's go ahead and fix that by moving it to the front of the rig on the proper side. So Auto Rig Pro actually can be used for this because it has an edit bone shape option. So to do this, I'm going to press 5 on the number pad, so I have an orthographic view, and then I'm going to hit this edit shape option, which allows me to grab this shape here, rotate it like so, and I'm just going to go ahead and bring it to the front of the armature here. So that's a nice place for it. So I'll hit Apply Shape. I'll do the same thing here. I'm editing it. That's about the right tilt. It's about the right location in that direction. I'll hit Y and just try to get things lined up here. So we're going to say rotate Y. That looks about right. Close enough. And then we'll hit Apply Shape. So now these shoulder controls are on the right side of the body. Everything looks good there. Maybe we should move this head control up a little bit. So we'll go grab Z, scale it up some so it's easy to see. There we go. Things are looking pretty good. All right, and then last thing is this guy has a child of constraint that's now broken, and we will just go ahead and attach it to probably this control master bone. So we'll say control master. And we're going to say set inverse. So now when we move the rig around, things are still connected. That should be a good overview for how to convert an AutoRig Pro rig into a Mixamo rig. If you have any further questions, just let me know.